and welcome to my channel. I'm Emma from Stitched Up by Emma, and in this video we're going to be learning the basics of my Switchy Filet Squares Blanket. For this project you will need DK yarn. I chose to use 4 different colours and I'll list the amounts in the description below. A 4mm crochet hook, scissors and a darning needle for sewing in your ends. Let's begin. To start, we're going to create a magic ring. So holding the tail end of your yarn, wrap it round your fingers to create a cross. Turning your fingers over and securing the working end of your yarn between your ring finger, slide your hook under the first loop, grab the second loop and pull it round. We're then going to use the working yarn to create a chain to secure. You can slide it off your fingers and that is your magic ring created. To start our round 1 we need to chain 5. So I already have 1 chain already made and I personally count this, some people do, some people don't. And I'm just going to chain a remaining 4, so I have a total of 5 chains. This will count as a double crochet and a chain 2. We're now going to create 3 double crochets. So let's yarn over, insert your hook into the magic ring and pull up a loop and you'll have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over and pull through the remaining 2. That is 1 double crochet made. We're going to repeat that another 2 times. We'll now chain 2 to create a corner and we'll repeat those instructions again. So we're going to work 3 double crochets into the magic ring, and chain 2. We're now moving on to our fillet sides of the square. So we will work 1 double crochet into the magic ring, work 1 chain and another double crochet. So we essentially still have 3 stitches to work into as the other side. The chain is counting as our second stitch. We'll chain 2 to work the corner, work a double crochet and a chain 1. We're just going to close up our magic ring, and to finish off this side we already worked the chain 5 from the beginning, which counted as our double crochet and a chain 2. So we are going to slip stitch into the 3rd chain from that chain 5 to complete this side. So to start round 2, we're going to slip stitch into the corner, chain space, going to chain 5, and double crochet into that same corner chain space. Now this chain 5 counts as a first double crochet and a chain 2. We're now going to be working on a solid row side, so this round needs to be filet on top. So we're going to chain 1, we're going to skip the first stitch and work a double crochet into the second stitch. I'm going to chain 1, working our corner of a double crochet, I'm going to chain 2 and finish off with a double crochet in that same corner chain space. We're now working again on a solid side, so fillet on top, chain 1, skip that first stitch, working into the second double crochet, chain 1, skip that last stitch, and we're going to work straight into that corner with our final double crochet, which is going to be the start of our corner. But this corner is worked slightly different because the next side is on top of a fillet side. So we'll chain 2 and we'll finish this corner off with 2 double crochets into the corner chain space. We'll now be working on top of the fillet, so we're going to work a solid round on top. So we've already got our 2 and we're going to work 1 double crochet in each stitch. That's including the chain space, because remember that counts as a stitch for us in this pattern. So we've worked 1 double crochet on top. In the corner we're going to work 2 double crochets to finish off that side. Chain 2 for the corner. We're on another fillet side, so we're going to work another 2 double crochets into that corner chain space. And we're going to finish off our fillet side with a solid row on top. You may need to move your stitches over slightly to make sure you do not miss that stitch. Working 1 double crochet into the top of each stitch and chain space. So we want a total of 4 in total. So this last one will be worked into the top of the chain 3 from the previous row. And instead of going into the chain space, I'm actually going to work it into the slip stitch that was made to join the round. I think it just looks a little bit neater. So that just finishes the corner off, because remember the chain 5 counted as a double crochet. So we're going to slip stitch to the 3rd chain, and that is round 2 complete. So to start round 3, we're going to slip stitch into the corner chain space. Start off with our chain 5 for the corner. We're going to work 2 double crochets into that same corner chain space. We need the 2 to start off with because we're working on top of a fillet row, so this will be a solid side. We're going to work into each stitch and chain space. So remembering to get that first stitch, because that can sometimes be hidden by the 2 double crochets. And we'll just work a total of 5 double crochets across this side until we reach the corner, where it will be 2 double crochets, chain 2, and another 2 double crochets, as we're still on our solid side to be made. And again, we're going to repeat that. We're going to work 1 stitch in each stitch and chain space along. And for our transition corner, we're going to work 2 double crochets into the corner chain space, chain 2, and this time, because we're transitioning to a fillet side, we only want 1 double crochet to start this side off. We're going to chain 1, skip the first stitch, and double crochet into that second stitch, chain 1, we'll skip 1, work into the next. We'll repeat that until we get to the corner. Working a double crochet, chain 2, and 1 double crochet as we're still on our fillet side. Chain 1, skip the first one, work into the second, chain one, skip one, double crochet into the next. And we'll repeat that across with a final chain one, and then our last stitch is worked into the top of the third chain. We're just going to keep repeating these instructions until we get to round 5, where we will fasten off. You can, however, make the squares as big as you like, so you can just keep repeating and adding more rows. You just have to remember to always slip stitch into the corner when starting off before your chain 5. The chain 5 counts as a double crochet and a chain 2. Always working a fillet row on top of a solid row and a solid row on top of a fillet row. Once we've worked our final chain 1, we're going to slip stitch to the third chain of the chain 5, slip stitch into the corner stitch and fasten off. Once you've made all your squares, we are now going to be joining them together. You can arrange them in any orientation that you like, but I have chosen to join mine so that the solid sides are along the top and the left hand side, but it doesn't really matter, the joining is still worked in exactly the same way. We're going to work from the bottom of our blanket. So we're going to start with a slip knot on our hook. We're going to locate the corner chain space at the bottom and slip stitch into that space. Taking our second square, we're going to locate the same corner next to it and slip stitch into that corner chain space. Coming back to the first square, we're going to locate the next stitch along and slip stitch into it. Onto the next stitch of square 2, slip stitch into it. When working on the fillet sides, the chain 1 space is classed as a stitch, so we will just slip stitch directly into that chain 1 space. And we're just going to continue to slip stitch into the next stitch, working up the side of the squares. Once we have got to the top of our 2 squares, we can now bring in the next two. So we will have finished on the corner of our second square. So locating the bottom of our third square, we're going to slip stitch directly into that corner. Bring in square 4, locate the corner and slip stitch directly into there, and this is our next two squares joined into the blanket. And we'll just continue all the way up until we get to the top, and you just continue adding all of your squares until you've reached the length of your blanket. Once you've got to the top of your blanket, you can fasten off, and it is now time to join all of your horizontal strips. So you'll join all of your verticals first, and then we'll work across the horizontal. So it's worked in exactly the same way. Start with a slip knot on your hook. Locate the two corners. You will need to work your working yarn underneath your blanket, so these ones can be the tricky part. So locate your corner, and we're going to slip stitch into the corner as we have done with all the previous ones. Find its matching corner on the next square and slip stitch into there. Continue slip stitching in each stitch on the squares until we get to the join in the middle. As I'm working up this side of the squares, I've realised that I've actually got an extra stitch in the green square. So don't worry if your stitch counts are off. These are quite forgiving joins. So if we insert into the extra stitch and work a slip stitch, we're then going to work a slip stitch into the last stitch on the white square that we've already worked a stitch into. Work your corner as normal. And as you can see, you can't tell that there is an extra slip stitch in there. It is quite a forgiving join. We're then going to continue with the blanket, working over the vertical join. We're going to work our horizontal join. So we're just going to work directly over into the silver corner, work your slip stitch, and then slip stitch into the blue corner. We'll continue working up through these two squares until we get to the end and fasten off. To work the border for this blanket, we're going to start with a standing single crochet. So we'll add a slip knot onto our hook. Locate any corner chain space, and holding the stitch on your hook still, we're going to insert and pull up a loop, and we'll have two loops on our hook. Yarn over and pull through both loops, and this creates a standing single crochet. We're going to finish the corner working 2 chains and single crochet into that same corner. We then just need to work 1 single crochet in each stitch around the blanket. As we come up to the join, we're just going to work one single crochet into the corner chain space, one single crochet into the actual join, and a single crochet into the chain space, and then continue single crocheting in every stitch along. And again, when we get to the corner, making sure we work a single crochet, chain 2 and a single crochet for the corners. Once we've made it all the way round to the beginning of the blanket, we're going to join with a slip stitch to the first single crochet that we made. You might notice that where the joins are, it's pulling in a little bit, but once you add more rounds of the border, it will pull it out, and if it's still pulling in, blocking your blanket should help this as well. Moving on to round 2 of the border, we're going to slip stitch into the corner and chain 1. This chain 1 does not count as a stitch. We're going to work a half double crochet, so that's yarn over, insert your hook and pull up a loop. You'll have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through all 3. We're then going to finish the corner off by working 2 chains and half double crochet into that corner chain space. We'll then continue to work 1 half double crochet in every stitch around the blanket, working half double crochet, chain 2, half double crochet in each corner, and now we're back at the beginning. We're going to slip stitch into that first half double crochet that we made. To start round 3, we want to slip stitch into the corner stitch, we're then going to chain 5. This counts as a double crochet and a chain 2. We'll place 1 more double crochet into the corner stitch and chain 1. We're going to skip the first stitch and work a double crochet into the second. We'll chain 1, skip the next stitch and work into the one after, and we're going to continue working chain 1, skip 1, double crochet all the way around the blanket, working a double crochet, chain 2, double crochet in every corner. Now that we're coming up to the end of the round, we're going to work our final double crochet. We'll chain 1 and then we're going to slip stitch to the 3rd chain of the chain 5 from the beginning. going to slip stitch into the corner stitch to start round 4. If I just lie it flat, you can see how now that the corners of the joins are starting to lie a little bit more flat now the border's going on. So onto round 4, we're going to chain 1, and this does not count as a stitch. We're going to work 2 half double crochets into the corner space, chain 1, and work another 2 half double crochets. We'll continue to work 1 half double crochet in every stitch and chain space around the blanket, working 2 half double crochets, chain 1, 2 half double crochets in each corner space. Coming up to the end of this round, we're going to continue to work our half double crochets into the stitches and chain spaces, with our last half double crochet being worked into that third chain from the chain 5 on the previous round, the same one that we slip stitched into to join the previous round. We'll then slip stitch to the first half double crochet of this round to join, and we'll move on to the final round of the border. So we're going to start with a chain 1, and we're going to be working a reverse single crochet, also called a crab stitch. So this is where we're working clockwise instead of anti-clockwise around our blanket. So we're going to insert into the stitch of the right of the chain, pull up a loop, and we'll have 2 loops on our hook, yarn over and pull through both loops. It is a single crochet, just worked to the right of your stitch instead of the left. So insert and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2. Into the next stitch, continue working this reverse single crochet around the blanket, working 2 reverse single crochet in each corner. Almost made it back round to the beginning of our blanket. Just working the 1 stitch into the corner and around. And we're back at the beginning. I do not like to join with a slip stitch here, so I'll just snip my yarn and pull up my hook. And to sew it in and join it, I just sew my ends in at the back, and it provides a bit of a seamless join rather than having to slip stitch, which can show the knot. So we'll just attach the tail end onto our needle, turn the work over, and just underneath the row of reverse single crochets, I'll just pass it through a few times, through a few stitches, and you can continue to weave in all of your ends, and this is your blanket finished. Thank you for watching. I really hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. Please consider liking and subscribing to my channel if you haven't already. This really does help the channel out and get it out to more people. Thank you so much again, and I'll see you in the next one.